Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel and thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time in our YouTube channel, my name is Roy and welcome. Please don't forget to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel so that you can always see our new vlogs and other trips and other videos. Today is a very wonderful day and I'm so excited because we have a very important person right next to me. I'm sure you know this person, no? Sobrang kilala po siya, di ba? Not only in the Philippines, but even in different parts of the world. She's one of the most respected TV journalists and I would say TV personality, you know, in the news industry. So let's all welcome, guys, and let's give her a round warm of applause. Marieton Pacheco.
Hello, Roy.
Welcome, kamusta?
Mabuti. Thank you first of all for inviting me to join you guys in your channel.
And it's our pleasure. Also, guys, we would like to thank the Grit Cafe and Art Restaurant for allowing us to use their site.
Very nice.
It's
very
beautiful.
Nice place.
It is, and this is actually located in Port Moody, guys. So if you're around the area, please visit. Great, and this is also a Filipino-owned restaurant, so let's support locals, okay? So, alright, let's go back to Miss Marieton Pacheco. So, Marieton, when did you come here in Canada?
Okay, so my family and I arrived in 2009. It was August 3rd, 2009. So, we've been here for a little over 10 years, 11 years.
Oh, okay. So, 2000, kasi kami naman dumating kami 2007. Okay. So, nauna lang kami sa inyo. Yeah, 2 years lang. Nung time yung 2 years na yun, nagpapak-unpack pa lang kami. To our new place. Okay, so, is your whole family already here in Canada or is it only you?
No, it's my husband and I both migrated. When we came here, we had our 2 boys. And then, but it's just us. We don't have any other family here. So it's just the whole family migrating and taking that leap of faith of trying life in a new country.
Actually, ganun tayo most of the time, tayo mga Filipino. Siyempre, pag pumupunta naman tayo sa abroad, most of the time tayo lang talaga, di ba? And it's because of the leap of faith lang talaga and trust in the Lord. Na Lord, whatever happens, you're beside us, so we'll go, di ba? That's a good thing. Broadcasting is your job in the Philippines before you left, right?
That's right.
So, is this, like, what course did you take up in college?
I took up communication arts in LaSalle. That was my bachelor's degree. And then a few years before we actually moved to Canada, I also finished my master's in journalism at Ateneo.
Oh, okay.
That was actually a grant, a Konrad Adenauer grant for Asian journalists. So they always, they pick, every now and then they pick a few journalists all over Asia. And then they allow them to finish a master's degree in terms of, formulating new developments in journalism within the region.
Alam niyo po, sobrang nakakatuwa lang, no? Kasi si Marieton, she is always the one that interviews people. But this time, ngayon naman ako nag-i-interview sa kanya, di ba? So, ako rin kinakabahan kasi magaling to di ba? So, talagang professional siya. Pero this is basically lang naman, we just want to share, guys, our life here in Canada, and that's why we were doing this, di ba? Kasi we also want to share to people like how we began sa isang country na wala kaming kilala, no, na foreign kami. And yun ang gusto namin iparating sa mga ating mga friends and viewers today. And so yung after you graduate college, did you go straight, like ABS CBN was the first employer since you graduated?
It was actually, so when I graduated university, the usual, di ba, pinamimigay mo yung mga resumes over the stations, pero I didn't get anything. It's the story of almost all fresh grad. So, so my husband used to play for the NBA, which is one of a professional basketball league in the Philippines, and he had a teammate who knew someone from SNN then. It was Sarmanok News Network, which eventually became ABS CBN News Channel. So it was that connection, it was that introduction that actually paved the way for me to enter the industry. I started out as a writer, as a segment writer, and then it was just good timing also, perfect timing, because during that time, a few months into the job, they were thinking of launching the 24-hour news channel, the English channel.
Oh yeah.
So when that started, they needed more people to be covering the field. So they were just picking up all the fresh grads within the teams. Like, do you want to try field reporting? I'm like, yeah, game for that.
Tsaka kasi yun ang masarap di ba? Lumalabas ka,
Yes.
and you're meeting new people, and you really experience yung talagang nangyayari
Yes.
sa labas ng ating mga bahay, di ba?
I think that for me was one of the highlights of doing news. I was with news in the Philippines for about 10 years before we moved here. And I think always one of the best things for me would be you get the first row seats to whatever is happening in Philippine history, right? And the events in politics, the events on the streets, different issues, and you get to talk to different kinds of people every day. So that was always one of the best things of the job.
And also yung maganda doon, kasi ako, gusto ko rin yan pero hindi ako, kaya gumawa na lang ako ng YouTube channel kasi ito kaya akong gawin to kahit walang training, di ba? But you know what, that's true. Isa pang maganda doon is yung natututo ka. Ikaw din sa sarili mo, you're also learning a lot of new things na hindi mo lang makikita o maririnig sa opisina.
That's right.
Kasi yung nasa labas ng totoong buhay.
Yes.
Di ba? Yun ang maganda lang. Pero, naalala kita nung pinapanood pa kita noon isa ako sa mga fans mo So,
Thank you.
naalala kita noon na talagang kumbaga kasikatan mo nung time na yon. Pero
Ano artista no?
Kasikatan niya kasi siya yung isa sa talagang beautiful faces, no?
Thank you.
Sa broadcasting. And also nung time na yon, I remember talagang yung peak ng career mo. And then you said you moved to Canada 2009. Bakit ka lumipat sa Canada? Is it opportunity or tell us more about it?
No, not. I don't think it was more the opportunity. It was I think it was a mix of you cover the news so much. I've been covering the news so much that there were certain stories na like you go through all these scandals, all these hearings, all these anomalies, and I think there was one conversation with my son who was about 6-7 years old during the time, asking me what plunder was. And I think it was that time when we had all that news about GMA and plunder cases, right?
I remember.
And I was, kasi sa bahay ko, I don't filter news. It's such a part of my life that even when you're in dinner and you have like gatherings, Sunday lunches with your family, it's just something you all talk about, right, in the house. Kasi ganun sa Pilipinas.
Tsaka syempre ikaw yung kumbaga ikaw yung first hand information nila pagdating sa mga
titas
news.
And titos will also, ano nangyari sa ganyan. So, but I was having that conversation with my son and I was thinking na parang, is this really something like a 6-year-old should be talking about or should be learning about, like people stealing in government or people doing things that are not right in government, right? So yun, napaisip ako ng konti noon. Tapos I think I did an interview with an author who already migrated to Canada, and it just sort of started from there. Like we looked for an agency, we filed an application. It was very casual, like nothing really like let's do this for sure. Ito na gagawin natin.
So it's not really a plan.
No,
set in
parang,
stone, hindi ganon.
Hindi siya ganon nag-start. So parang it was a little of those things, and then andun na rin yung you get kind of burnt out because when you're in news, especially in Manila, you have to be always working, right? You have to be, because you can't tell when news happens and when news does not happen. So there was like a Christmas holiday that we as a family had planned, and then all of a sudden the former president Arap, who was already in detention then, was granted a furlough by the court, so he was allowed to go to Hong Kong for a medical procedure. And all of a sudden, just like that, canceled yung vacation mo because you have to go to. So it was like a couple of those things, right? Na parang nagsama-sama. So parang when we pushed for our application, it was just like something at the back of our mind. So parang if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it happened. And it took us 5 years. It was a long process for our family because we filed our application 2004 and we got our visa 2009. So during that time when we filed it, parang okay lang siya. Parang it was just like an alternative, an option for us. When it finally came in 2009, both my husband and I, we were already kind of stable with our careers, right? And we already knew what we were. We had like set goals. we moved into our own place na, yung mga stuff like, ganon. So parang nung dumating yung visa, we were like, are we gonna do this? Parang, are we just gonna leave all of this and start all over again, right? So ako, I was kind of like, maybe wag na, parang wag na natin gawin. But my husband was always saying na, if we don't take this opportunity now, we will always think in the future, what if we did go through it, right? So he said like, let's just try it out, and then if it doesn't work out, we can always go home. That's always our thinking, right? So we didn't sell our stuff. We didn't sell our place when we left.
Oh, okay.
It took us 3 years before that actually happened.
So talagang talagang tinest nyo muna yung water dito.
Yes.
And made sure that everything is going to be alright.
Yeah, that we were going to be fine here.
Yeah.
It didn't even have to be like successful here, right? But we just wanted to be sure that this was going to be right for our family. And I think for most of the families too, the answer to that would always be the children. Right? More than us, right?
Totoo yun.
So we saw our kids, they were like instant happy, well-adjusted. Talaga.
Okay.
Talaga ako parang, you don't miss your cousins, you don't miss your home, you don't miss your classmates. We do, but it's nice here. Yun nga, it's always the kids who put you back in focus and who remind you why you're here in the first place. Because like I was saying, the first year was terrible for me. It was miserable. Like my husband didn't make me watch Philippine news at all because I was so homesick with my family. I missed my job because it was so many things happening in the Philippines at that time in 2009. But you know, it's always like when you go home and you see your kids, you know, talking excitedly about, you know, the friends they make in school or the things they learn in school or the fact that they can just go out any time of the day and play in the playground because there's a playground right beside the house, right? It's things like that that you always reminds you na, okay, this is the reason why we're here. Yeah. So, end of story. Parang, huwag ka na magdrama sa buhay mo. Just think of why you're here. Right?
Yeah, tsaka hindi, di ba sabi mo nga kaganina na yun nga, na-cancel yung ano nyo, yung trip nyo just because of Call of Duty, di ba? At least dito walang ganon, di ba? Kasi yun naman maganda dito sa Canada, di ba? They really wanted us to have family time.
Yes.
Spend time with your family, with your kids. And yeah, I think that's, well, hindi lang ikaw. I'm sure marami po kayong makaka-relate. Like kami, yun din naman reason namin, that's why we moved here in Canada. Kasi, of course, aside sa better opportunity, life is simple. That's all I can say.
That's so true.
Hindi mo kailangan, ano mo yun?
Hindi mo kailangan mag-rat race.
Yeah, hindi ganun.
Because it's enough that you earn enough to pay the bills, save a bit, right? But you know, there's also half of your life to enjoy time with your family. Because there really is work-life balance here, right? Nung una sinasabi nila yun, and I'm like, ano yung work-life balance?
Meron ba nun?
Meron ba yun? Parang ganun. But you know, over the years, you actually realize how big of a deal that is.
Yeah.
Right? It keeps you very healthy and it keeps you very sane.
Yeah, and not only that, hindi siya nabibili.
Yes,
diba?
That's so true.
Yung joy, yung happiness, yung time, hindi siya nababayaran.
That's so true.
Diba? Okay, so ano yung pinaka, kahit isa lang, yung pinaka-challenging moment niyo dito sa Canada when you moved here? And also, yung mga maganda naman, bigyan mo rin kami ng magandang nangyari.
Okay. I think the challenging part was really getting back to media. So, when I came, I just finished my MA. So, I had I had 10 years experience with me. So, parang I was very confident that I would easily be able to get in media. But, you know, I had people warning me that it's not the same, it's not easy because they will not recognize your credentials in Manila. And that was true, you know. That was true because in the first couple, you know, during that time there was Olympics, there was a small media company that actually got me to do like grassroots stories. But it didn't work out because after a couple of stories, parang there was just something that it wasn't a good fit. Parang they didn't think it was the right fit for their company. So like 1 or 2 stories after, they just said, I don't think this is working out, and that's fine. But you know, it's like those things like that. That's really parang a piece of humble pie for you, right? Na parang after all the things you've already done in the Philippines, you realize na parang hindi pala siya ganun kadali talaga. And then opportunity came where I did a story for one friend, and she was saying like, she was asking me, do you have a full-time job? Because during that time I was already able to touch base with ABS TFC. And they were saying na, okay, since you just got here, once you're settled, maybe you wanna continue doing stories for the community. Which I easily did also, because that is already my home, right? I'm so familiar with ABS, the people I've worked with. So it was such an easy transition.
Tsaka doon ka nakilala.
Oo.
Diba? So parang it's like a continuity yung ginagawa mo sa Pilipinas. Yeah.
And it was also nice because it was sharing stories of the Filipinos here.
Yes.
Diba? Yung mga kababayan. Kasi nung una medyo nahihirapan ako kasi parang sinasabi I had a friend who's also a journalist in the Philippines and who's also here already. And he was telling me, it's not easy for you. Parang ang advice na sa akin during the time, don't compare the kinds of stories you were working on in the Philippines to here. Kasi in the Philippines, you were doing like national stories because you were in Manila, right?
Yeah.
You were covering Senate, Justice, big stories. But here, it's all people's stories. Sabi niya. And then he told me that you always go back to why you are a journalist. It's because you tell stories. It doesn't have to be big national stories. It's telling stories. So that's it. So that was a good reminder for me. Na, and there are a lot of stories of our kababayans here.
Yeah.
So that was what I've been doing for the past 10 years with PSC.
That's good. So it's like, it's not a story that is selected or selective stories, I would say.
Yes.
So at least ito talaga, you are bringing to the people, especially to Filipino community, the reality of life here in Canada. It's not about a certain person, a celebrity or what.
Just voices of our kababayans here.
Totoo yun. Malaking help sa amin yun. Kasi syempre, especially sa mga bago, di ba na gusto nilang malaman kung ano ba talaga ang i-expect nila dito sa Canada. At least, by hearing those stories, meron palang ganun, may ganito pala, ito pala yung pinagdaanan niya, so I'm not alone. No?
Yes.
I love it. So, kayo po sa mga ating mga nanonood na, especially yung mga nasa broadcasting industry, if you are considering to somehow have an opportunity outside the Philippines, so ito po, ang ganda ng sinabi ni Marieton. I like it. Na iba yung istorya na dinadala po natin dito sa ibang bansa at sa istorya na ibinabahagi natin sa Pilipinas. Okay, so dun tayo sa part naman sa ABS CBN. Like I said, si Marieton Pacheco is nakilala siya sa ABS CBN, no? Siyempre, merong part yon sa life niya, sa heart niya, and kung ano siya ngayon. Kumbaga, pag sinabing Marieton Pacheco, it's always ABS CBN naka-attach sa name.
Yes, and I'm very grateful for that. Yung pag-adjust ko here in Vancouver, a big part of that was already because people welcomed me warmly. The community welcomed me warmly because of ABS, because they knew me from ABS CBN, and they easily opened up their stories to me. Sometimes pag matagal ka na abroad, you have some kababayans, they get kind of jaded talking to fellow Filipinos, right? But it was that trust they built with ABS, with the company before, that when they found out that I'm here, parang they easily shared stories with me, which was very helpful for me when I was new in the country. So so many people welcome me. Malaking bagay pa.
Pero ito ngayon tanong ko sa'yo, huwag kang iiyak. Tapos syempre, alam mo, kasi kami rin naman, isa kami sa mga nanonood din sa ABS CBN. And nalungkot kami sa nangyari. Syempre, ikaw naging part ka ng family nila. Ano yung na-feel mo? Dahil hindi sila nalinya dun sa kanilang franchise. So, any thoughts about that?
Well, of course, when it was happening, it was something that was in the news for a couple of for a year, I think, at least before it actually happened, right? And you always knew that, you always thought that imposible naman, hindi naman siguro mangyayari yun, di ba? Na parang no matter how bad or how things are happening, how gulo the situation is back home, you always think, no, it's not gonna reach that level, it's not gonna reach that level. But when it actually happened, it was more like, wow, parang hindi mo ma-explain in one word parang galit, disappointment, sadness. There's a lot of sadness because a lot of those people are real people to me. They're not just part of a news story. There was a time, and I think this was just it happened May 5th, May 4th, right? siguro during that time until just last week, because most of them ended, when they finally started laying off people and getting notices. The last day was August 31st.
Yeah.
Ang bigat tumingin sa Facebook.
Yeah, I know.
Ang bigat tingnan every time you open your Facebook. It's like people you've worked with, people you know, saying goodbye to the company, seeing the newsroom empty. Doing all those like tributes to how ABS CBN has been part of their life. So it was very, very sad.
Yeah. Actually, meron din po ako mga kakilala o kaibigan na nag-work sa ABS CBN na nawala ng trabaho, and nakikisa po kami sa inyo, and we are praying for you. And I know naman na maayos to in the near future, di ba? Pagsubok lang po ito, nandito po kami para sumuporta. Okay, let's now talk about good news. Recently, I saw in my feeds na meron kang bagong project. Okay? Ayoko muna sabihin kung ano yung project na yun kasi gusto ko lahat ng galing sa'yo. Hindi, sa'yo mo gagaling. Okay, meron po siyang big project dito sa Canada, and gusto ko siyang magkwento po sa atin.
Sige, but babalik akong konti. So,
sige.
During the past 10 years, when I was saying I was having a hard time go back to media, I went into the finance industry. So I worked with a big bank, with a big investment firm for the past 10 years because I had a friend who asked me if I was doing anything full-time. And I did have a full-time job because TFC was doing, we were doing it freelance, right? We were just contributing stories to Balitang America. So I took that opportunity, and it's always sabi nila, diba, if for you to be successful or for you to make it in any new country, you always have to be open to possibilities of reinventing yourself.
True.
Right? That's always what they say. So I was very open to that. I took courses. I took the securities course, wealth management course. I took all of that because I was very thankful for a good job. It was a very stable job. It paid really well. And then you always know, though, that deep inside you kind of miss doing news, right?
Yeah.
Because it's what I've always wanted to do ever since I was a kid. But I was happy, and it's always like, I've always been very grateful with everything. I always try to cultivate a sense of gratitude every day over the little things talaga. So that was how it was for the past 10 years. And then during this pandemic, when everything is on a lockdown, I had a friend ask me if I wanted to help them do a town hall for the Filipino community on COVID and all the resources that was available to the community during this time of COVID. And it was just it was a very straightforward plan. We'll do it online. We'll do it via Zoom. And we did it with City Hall, and we did it with Vancouver City Hall in May.
Wow.
So it was just like talking about, and she just needed somebody. They just asked me to help them because they wanted somebody to be able to easily translate the resources that's available from the city to the kababayans living in Vancouver. So that happened, and then a few weeks after that, I got a call. I got somebody reach out to me from Omni TV asking if I was interested because they had this big project coming up for the community. So for those of you who are not familiar, Omni is a multicultural and a multilingual channel across Canada, and they used to have four newscasts in languages. They had Cantonese, Mandarin, Italian, and Punjabi. And September 1st, they launched two more, a Filipino and an Arabic newscast.
Wow.
And they asked me to produce the Filipino newscast for them.
Wow, so that's a really big break for you.
It's a big break here. Yeah, because for me, really, it was more like, it was just something that came unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And it was bringing me back to what I really love to do.
And something that you never expect to happen, especially in
a
the pandemic situation.
Yes. And they were actually asking me if I was willing to move to locate to a different province because the initial plan was the producer was supposed to be in a different province. And I'm like, I want to go back to news, but I really don't want to move anymore because I don't want to move my children again. It's really just that bad, right? So I said, like, I want to join you, but I don't really want to move. And they moved the position here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the position is...
It's to produce as producer for the Filipino news
So,
station.
congratulations. So, si Marieton Pacheco po is now a producer here in Canada, in Vancouver, Canada, of Omni News. So, wow, nakakatuwa yun, ha?
Oh, super nakakatuwa. I think ang pinaka nakakatuwa for me is, just going back to doing news and working with other kababayans, other Filipino Canadians who are as passionate about sharing news, about telling stories of our different kababayans, because it makes such a big difference when you have a team that's all passionate towards what you're doing. Right?
Yeah.
So we were very excited about it. We were, a lot of us were feeling it's about time we have this news on a Canadian company television, right? So it's just a mirror of how diverse and how multicultural Canada is, which is, we've heard that. We always hear that every day. But to actually have someone, to actually have a company invest, right? In being, in you, in your community, being able to continue telling and sharing stories is such an overwhelming thing.
It's a big privilege sa atin yun. Kasi syempre, di ba, we're a minority.
Yes.
Ano yung ine-expect namin na makikita o ng mga kababayan natin? Ano yung makikita namin na different dito sa Omni News as compared to other types of news na nakikita namin sa TV, like Filipino community news?
Well, this is basically Filipino community news, but it's national also. So it's not just Vancouver-based. We have a team in Toronto.
Okay.
And the fact that we're under Omni TV. Omni TV is owned by Rogers Sports and Media.
Right.
So it's a big company. They also own Breakfast TV, City News. It has a lot of resources. So you share that kind of resources, and you get to focus on what the community thinks about, the different issues, the different news stories of the day. So we have the big news being covered by national teams, but you have your Omni team focusing on the Filipino voices, which is it's a very, very nice thing to have, right? We just launched last week.
Yep.
So
I saw that.
If you see like all the messages we've been getting, nakakataba talaga ng puso, because it's like a lot of people are thirsty to hear news in our language again. It's such a big thing for them. Na parang,
that will represent them. Diba?
And mahahaba. This is the great thing about it is you're not limited to like how
Clips
news is
lang.
na maliliit lang, diba? Talagang dito maririnig mo talaga yung kwento nila, yung pinagdadaanan nila, yung victories nila.
Yeah.
Which nakakataba ng puso kasi the news is kind of late. It's at 11 p.m. But people watch because we have a lot of viewers sending us messages, sending us congratulations. Kaya sobrang saya-saya namin. The whole team is very happy. The management, they were very, very happy with how the community has reacted to the launch.
You mentioned that this is Canada-wide, right? So this is not only, guys, Vancouver, okay? We are here in Vancouver, but it's not only for Vancouver Filipino community, but in all parts of Canada.
Yes, and we are able to, especially the pandemic, I guess, has taught us that there's really no such thing as being limited by geographical, by geography, right? Because the internet is there, Zoom, virtual meetings, virtual web connections are there. So you have, even if you have stories in other parts of Canada, we are easily able to work on the story, right?
Yeah, mas madali na. Actually, you can just use your phone, diba? And then just shoot. And
our journalists are actually, half of the team are actually mobile journalists, and they use phones.
Oh, wow.
It's just phones for broadcast. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, ganun po ka-creative ang mga Pinoy. Okay, so itaas ang bandila. Alright. Okay, so saan namin mapapanood to? Anong channel?
So that will depend on your cable provider.
Oh, okay.
So every province, every city, depending on what cable you have, is you just check on your listing on where Omni is. I think it used to be channel 8 for Shaw and 119 for Telus here. But these things change, so it's best to check on your cable provider for that listing. Okay,
so Marieton, did you want to share like a positivity or encouragement to all our kababayan who are watching right now, especially this pandemic, diba? Ang daming depressed, So let's use also this platform to encourage them. Anything to share?
Marami. Actually, marami. But I think it will all boil down to starting your day with gratitude. Even if there's so many things happening around us, it makes such a big difference if you really find time in your day to look for things that you are thankful for. I always start my day with like 10-15 minutes of prayer. Really, I just pray. I read the word.
Yeah.
And just reflect on things that you are thankful for, because it's always focusing on your faith, right? Focusing on your faith and focusing on what you're grateful for. And I think everything just flows from there. Even the difficult days, because there are also difficult days, but your difficult days have purpose in them.
Yeah.
If you always like focus on it in a faith perspective.
Yeah, and also yung mindset, di ba? Start with a good mindset. And of course, prayer is always there, di ba? God is always with us, and let's not forget about that. No matter what happens in our day, at the end of the tunnel, there's always light. And you know what? If you feel down, look up. God is there,
Yes.
di ba? Alright, so Marieton, let's invite them one more time sa Omni News channel nyo.
Okay.
And if you could also provide us with yung mga kung meron kayong Instagram, Facebook account that they can also be part of to support you guys, let's use this platform to invite them.
Okay, so I'm inviting all of you to please join us. Samahan nyo kami gabi-gabi at 11 o'clock in the evening. Across Canada po, different time zones, but we all air at 11 p.m. for your Omni News Filipino edition. So it's different voices, different stories of our kababayans across Canada. Follow us also on Facebook, and we also have a Twitter page so that you're updated with the latest stories and the latest events happening within our community. So please, please, please support us po. Thank
Support
you.
po natin sila mga kababayan. Itaguyod natin ang ating lahing nasa. We're so happy to have you here one more time. Salamat. Maraming salamat sa oras mo. For being so open. I know na hindi ka sanay magpa-interview, but sorry. You have to say yes. No, just kidding. Okay, guys.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Sana as Omni News goes on and becomes bigger and bigger, makita tayo ulit so we can also share another story to them.
Okay.
So guys, thank you so much once again for joining us today, and I hope po na meron po tayo napulot na aral, at I also hope din po na meron din po kaming na-share na valuable information po sa inyo. And we would love to, to do this kind of interviews from different people. That's because gusto rin po namin magamit ang Nideas channel to bring in new faces and, to hear stories from them. Because we also want to share positivities and encouragement to all our viewers. And again, if this is your first time in our channel, welcome, and please don't forget to hit subscribe and follow us on our journey here in YouTube. So again, you're watching the Nideas channel. Stay safe guys, God bless you, and see you again on our next vlog. Goodbye!
You don't use your last names? Well, we do, but it's nice here. They can go out, they can... Yeah, I'm sorry.
Natin tapusin sa
Producer.
Producer niya. Okay. Sorry. Okay, never mind.